Two down, one to go. Two episodes down, two to go. Well, we're making progress. Two down, I meant as in our members of our party, unfortunately. Rest in peace. Pour one out for the boys. We poured one out for one of the boys last time. We got one left. Our dwarf boy. I have fears. I would argue the decision to make here this episode, and it doesn't have to be this one, it can be the next one, but within this first sequence is to see the passing and the deaths of everybody who had such a big impact, like the first like real big impact, I guess, of FRIEREN's life. I think is the direction to take here. So I wouldn't be shocked if the dwarf guy's the next one to go. I don't remember his name, so I'm sorry about that. But I believe that would make the most sense, us to make him be next to go. So whether we do that here or later, I don't know. We could set something up with him and then have it end in the next episode. But I think that would make the most sense, and then we would be led to, because he said he was getting older as well, and now it's been like 30 years since then. So it's been a minute. So I'd be led to believe that it would be likely that we get rid of, or we kill him now or have him die, which would ultimately lead us into Frieren having to journey and venture out on her complete own without any of these things in her past kind of still being around or relevant. Which will be an interesting thing. And then we can begin our journey to, I think if I made the guess, it would be this episode, and then next episode would be our journey to acquire everybody else in our party that we see in the OP that'll ultimately lead us into whatever happens next week. I could be wrong, completely wrong. And possibly we gather everybody here and then that happens next time. Or maybe he just doesn't die and they don't feel a need for that. But I feel like that's something that they would do. So I'm going to guess that's going to be the case. This is a Toho show, as I always like to say, so they're going to block this at some point. That's just what happens when it gets blocked. If you still want to watch the reaction, in the description, I'll have a link for that at some point. That'll likely be in a couple of weeks, though. If you like it all, though, hit the like and subscribe. You mean a lot to me. Feel free to also stick around for the discussion. Leave any comments, though, about this episode or series. Let's get going. This was a really fun one and a really sweet one. The entire first half focusing on, I guess, the relationship now between Fern and Frieren and how that's kind of developed over the years, and just the type of person that Frieren is, struggling to understand people but still being a very sweet and kind-hearted person at the end of the day, is really, really funny just to like kind of watch and witness and their relationship and dynamic that each of them have. Her following her around throughout the entirety of town and just like watching her every steps, just seeing her like do things that were actually for Fern at the end of the day. Like, it was just, I don't know, it's funny as hell. It's really sweet too. I really like that. And then the whole second half being like important for world-based things, being able to see somebody who's still alive after all these years, you know, that you knew and you saved, in a way, when they were younger, and then you have this memory of, and just being glad and happy to be able to see that, even though it's been 80 years later, still being able to learn more as well about the magic system in a way, the different enemies and the things that we used to fight before, that didn't really get touched on because the story started basically after that, as well as really anything else that they kind of introduced and presented there. We get to see a lot of magic and some stuff there going on, some action. We got to see some practicing. Like, I don't know, just a lot of it was presented. I don't think there was anything too, I guess, overly deep or anything for me to really get into and focus up on too much with that. But I definitely think that it was really, really well done, and I actually really liked it a lot. I think, I guess, the most important thing, or the thing to really get into, is just the idea that Frieren really like is starting to, or at least realizing that maybe she should start taking notice and start, you know, worrying about other people in a way, or caring for them in a way, actually taking notice of the things that they do or the things that they like and learning about them, as opposed to just going along with it. Like, that's crazy. She's been with this girl for like 10 plus years now, and she doesn't know a single thing like about her, really, right? Just the basics that she can, and she doesn't really pay too much attention or observe that stuff too much, which is just a crazy thing to really think about. uh, her effort, though, to hopefully learn that and then apply that to other people that she meets in the future for future things that occur, are something that I definitely think will happen there. Didn't go the route at all I thought that we were, with going after, or the death possibly of somebody else that we met, the other guy, the dwarf guy. which I thought was going to happen. Still leaves room for it, I guess, next episode for us to lead into that, and also no setup or introduction towards other people that we're going to be working with going forward. Also possible to be done next time. So this was more transitioning onwards to, I guess, what's to come then. So interesting, I guess, just to kind of note the direction that they might plan to take episode 4. I'm wondering. Like I said, pretty simple for the most part. I like the faces when you know she's just like lying or saying something, not being so truthful. Really, really good. And you start noticing and catching on to the things that people do or how they act in certain situations, because she's very observant of that. Also, her coming back with just the most useless things like this. Like, what are you gonna do with it? But she takes great joy in it, so it's great. I love following her around constantly and just seeing exactly what it is that she's doing, like the different faces she's making and how unsure. I thought this was because they were like, oh, we don't have a lot of money, and she was like trying to justify spending all the money on this. But I think it more so came down to the idea that she just didn't know what to pick out because she doesn't know enough about this girl, and she realizes that she's struggling, which is really funny. Us finding the sweets. This is so funny too. The idea that these two guys, or the whole group of guys here, have this outwards, like the way that they represent themselves almost, or present themselves, would give anybody, like based off of like a stereotype or something, the idea that they're like actually not meaning the things that they're saying, and they're just looking out for like to pick a fight or whatever the situation is. And realistically, they just kind of bond over the idea. They all like sweets and know where to go. It's, I don't know, it's a funny way for them to kind of flip it and do that. And then we end up getting back and FRIEREN's like, oh, you're late because yeah, we were following you the whole fucking time. And then instead asks us if we want to go out for sweets. It's like, yeah, she was scouting out, trying to find places for her to give this gift and for her to treat you on your birthday, and as a way to like kind of celebrate that, which is the cutest thing. Also, I've been saving up because I wanted to get you something and all that. Like, it's so nice. I love her just using that as like I really don't know anything about you, and when Fern notices I notice something about you because you always get this whenever we go somewhere, she's like, oh yeah, other people pointed this out and noticed this before about me. So being able to put that into like perspective of like, shit, I've never actually attempted to learn anything about you, and I kind of regret that in a way, because she regretted the idea that she never really learned or went out of her way to learn about things about these other people before, or as much as she should, besides the things that are like kind of obvious and basic and surface level for them. So the idea that she might be able to start applying that and putting that into use a little bit more here is cool. Really cute that she gets her the hair clipped now. It's a thing to kind of keep them together, a memory of that other person, which is just great. I also like her realizing that she's getting so big and all of that. It's a nice way just to show the growth of another person and how they're aging and stuff. We start practicing, which is really, really cool. The effects and stuff they use for the different magic and the abilities here is really fucking cool, and I like it a lot. It's pretty cool though how we bring up the idea that you can just, mana takes up, or defensive spells in a way take up a lot of mana, so at the end of the day we have to put it in like certain areas and do certain things to kind of protect ourselves and do it as like last minute as possible kind of thing, like ways to conserve it as much as we possibly can, and different strategies and stuff that were made along the way. I also love the constant gag here about her not reading the book, and being like, dude, you would know all this stuff if you just read the thing that I've been telling you to forever, which is great. We meet this guy who ultimately ends up knowing exactly who we are due to the fact that Himmel has been like, oh, she'll come eventually, which I think is also great that he had enough trust in her and understanding that they're not the same kind of person. He's somebody who would constantly check up on people and always be there for them then, but she's the kind of person who'll be there in the important moments. So while she might not be around for everything or always, she'll come and actually make sure that people are good. That's why she's around when these people end up dying. That's why she shows up like at those moments. She's going to come here right before the seal comes up. She knows, which I think is really, really, really sweet and fascinating, though. The amount of trust and faith he puts in her, and ensures that the other people that they shouldn't have anything to worry about when he ultimately probably stops coming, right? And that she'll be here for them, and that there's always going to be somebody here to try and help and protect them. Finding out as well that this guy used to just murder everybody with his attack is kind of fucking crazy, and definitely leaves you to be really scared what's going to happen when you get into this moment, which ultimately ends up not being very scary in the slightest, because his attack that he has is actually a very just basic and simple attack. It's nothing crazy. It's something that was just so overwhelming and powerful at the time that they used whatever they could to improve defensive spells and then figure out ways for people to get stronger and probably make other attacks based off of that are probably a lot more powerful and strong, that they no longer have to worry about something like this. So using such a simple basic defensive spell here basically allows or makes his attack pretty useless, which I think is a cool way of them kind of doing it, and also to show you over the years how the development of this stuff kind of happens, which is a big thing I think that'll be important with Frieren's journey, and the things that we're kind of following with her here is the idea that if we keep skipping through time and we don't stay stuck on the idea that like Fern or somebody's going to be with us forever, like right, if we just skip and flash through her life in a way over the span of like multiple episodes, it can ultimately get to a point that we're making a lot of advances within society and inventions and a whole bunch of other things that kind of come that weren't there at the beginning, and can constantly allow you to like make this story go on for a long, long time as new things can kind of arise, which I think is a really, really cool way of doing it. She's able to completely annihilate this dude. Like she literally just turns him into the void, bro. It's fantastic. I love this as well. Her memorizing and seeing him at the end and being like, "I remember you from then before," which is great. And then we just ride off into the sunset for whatever they plan to make, I guess, happen next, which I'm excited for. I don't really have too much more I think I really want to say. I think that was a pretty simple one. Didn't really present too much, but definitely did a lot for building up characters, relationships, and I guess world building a little bit with certain things for us to kind of keep in mind and look forward to possibly going forward. So excited to see kind of what comes out of that next. I'm going to go watch episode 4 now. If you guys like, though, hit the like and subscribe. They do mean a lot to me. Feel free to leave any comments, though, about this episode or this series. Definitely would love to see how people are feeling so far and exactly how they thought about each of these to kind of lead us off. Go check out the other videos on the channel if you want, and I'll be here for episode 4. So if you want to, go check that out soon. You guys have a good one. Peace.